Welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Alexander Wilson, and my co-host, Anthony Rivardo. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, make sure to do that. Alex Wilson ESM, Anthony_Rivardo. And today we're going to be bringing to you another Fireside Giants episode, 34.5, because it's going to be a little bit shorter, but covering some really exciting, interesting things regarding training camp and just kind of what to expect moving forward. This week we had Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, Leonard Williams, another Joe Judge interview. So there's a lot of information out there. The one thing that I took away from a majority of this was Leonard Williams saying that Patrick Graham is a genius for his defensive scheme. So I really like to hear that. Whether that means 10 sacks, 0.5 sacks, I have no idea. But we can be excited for what's to come and that this defensive scheme is going to be more diverse. It's going to be different. It's going to be a lot of more blitzing and more factors being incorporated into the play style of our current players. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit just to start about DeAndre Baker. Before we dive into that, though, Anthony, how are you doing today on this weekend?
I'm doing good. I got my COVID test yesterday. I have to get it to go back to school. I was really scared because I thought they were going to poke my brain matter, but they didn't. They just swabbed both nostrils, and I was fine. And I should get my results tomorrow. I don't know, but I'm very happy. I was really scared I was getting my brain poked.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't gotten it done, but I've seen a lot of people have it done. I've actually had that test before. They thought I had mono, and they shoved that thing up my nose, and it felt like it was in my brain. I've never been more uncomfortable. I almost punched the nurse. I do not like those things, but it's good to hear that the new swabs are it's just in the nostrils, nothing poking your brain, no brain damage from just the test itself. So I'm glad to hear it wasn't as painful and as uncomfortable as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But hopefully it comes back negative. Otherwise, no good for Anthony.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'd do. I'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks. I can't even go to school. I don't even know if I would go to school at that point. I might just stay home, but I don't know. Hopefully it's not positive.
A lot of things to be decided in the coming days, and for the Giants too. They're interestingly, they have like some players at a hotel they rented out, and then they allowed players to also decide whether or not they wanted to take that option. So they're also living at home, which is definitely going to be a little problematic. We don't have a bubble scenario with the NFL. It's going to be very reliant on the players making the right choices. Joe Judge is pretty strict about it. It seems like he's like really hammering it into the players. I'm just worried about the other teams, Eagles, Cowboys. They think they're on top of the world. They can't get the virus. We'll see about that. We will. So, training camp. Pretty excited for what's coming. We have a lot of new faces coming back from injury, free agents, the works. Today I just wrote an article about The Athletic. They ranked the Giants defense 31st for the 2020 season. They ranked 30th last year. I don't understand how they could possibly get worse after replacing Alec Ogletree. Janoris Jenkins, I don't understand it. And more chemistry, the rookies aren't rookies anymore. They have a year of experience. So I don't understand how they could possibly get any worse. But, DeAndre Baker situation, Sam Beal opting out. What do you think of Baker's, what he's going through right now? He was armed robbery, 4 charges. It's official now. They charged him with 4 counts of armed robbery.
Yeah.
And Quinton Dunbar got away with nothing. He's free to go. He's going to be playing this season probably. So it's pretty tough to see that Baker gets out of this without any sort of repercussions. I don't even know how the Giants haven't released him just yet after that. I mean, there's still a lot more to go, a lot left to do, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because Baker is facing 10 to life right now.
Yeah, to me, there's no chance we see DeAndre Baker play another snap in a Giants uniform. Even if somehow a miracle happens for him and he beats this case, I don't think he's playing in a Giants uniform. You look at what the Washington football team just did with Darius Geis. As soon as they figured out that he was arrested, he was cut instantly. And some could argue that's what the Giants should do. They should cut him right now. And maybe they should, but it's going to have serious repercussions on the rest of the team. I think that's why people are ranking the Giants defense even lower, because when you look at the cornerback position, it was DeAndre Baker. That was the guy at cornerback number 2. And then it was Sam Beal. Neither of them are on the team, so who is going to be cornerback number 2? In my eyes, the Giants should probably sign somebody, but if not, I really hope Darnay Holmes is the guy who takes that spot, and I know you want to talk about him a little more in a little bit.
Yeah, so that leads us into our segment, and our main segment of the day, and really just what we wanted to create an episode about, because I think we want to do more shorter, kind of like quick hitters for you guys, so that you can kind of just come, enjoy, like 20 minutes of just us talking, going through some players, updates, whatever it might be. And then you can go back to your day, enjoy things on the weekend, make sure that you enjoy your life. And, we are able to provide some sort of entertainment and some cool information for you just to quickly listen, enjoy it, and then move on. So today we have our segment being 3 players during training camp that we are excited to watch. And one of them for me is Darnay Holmes. That is a guy that is coming from USCLA. If you haven't checked out his story, you really should. It's pretty, tumultuous, I would say. His story revolves a lot around battling hardships in his life, overcoming challenges. His mother was evicted while he was at UCLA. He actually allowed his mother to stay at his apartment with him and his roommate. His roommate was totally fine with it, and she slept in his bed, and he actually slept at the UCLA football facilities on pads. So he's made some pretty big sacrifices. He's a really high character guy. He is determined. He wants to work. He wants to play at a high level. And that's what you want to see. He's been working out with Sterling Shepard, Saquon, Jabril Peppers, just refining his craft and really learning and adapting to the NFL style of play. Sterling Shepard burned him on one play. It was like a stop and go kind of in the red zone. And Darnay Holmes, he was in the right position. He just did not react fast enough because, Sterling Shepard's one of the best slot guys in the league when he's healthy. So facing off against him, tough, but I love to see them challenging each other, and that will give him some better ideas of what to expect, especially as a nickel corner. And that leads me to DeAndre Baker and Sam Beal. Beal opting out, and Baker's legal issues. Darnay Holmes should be given an opportunity to compete at CB2. And the reason I say that is because he has a very similar size to Janoris Jenkins. I want to get that out of the air already. There is nothing that says to me that he cannot compete there. He has the size, he's physical, and he's played there all throughout UCLA. I know analysts say Darnay Holmes should be a nickel corner in the NFL, and I get that. I really do, and I think that he should compete there as well. But don't limit him. Let him really maximize his strengths, maximize his talents and his experience in college. And he was injured last year. He played on a high ankle sprain, just like Saquon Barkley. And he was the leader of that team. He decided, I'm just going to play through it. It's severely limited how high his draft stock could go because of the injury. His stats were really, really limited, and it just really hampered his style. So him becoming healthy, he is going to be coming into training camp as one of the guys that we really want to keep an eye on, watch how he's developing, see what positions he's playing, and I do not think for a second that Joe Judge is going to limit him just to nickel corner. I fully expect him to be playing at CB2 and competing for that starting job as well, and I think there's a pretty damn good chance he gets it.
I completely agree. I think that he should 100% have a shot at starting at CB2. He played outside cornerback his entire collegiate career, as you mentioned, and he really does play like an outside cornerback. Maybe he could be more impactful day one in the slot just because of the way he's built and the way he plays. But long term, it might be more beneficial and more valuable to have him play on the outside. And like you said, he's the same size as Janoris Jenkins. Maybe he could afford to add a little bit extra muscle on his frame. But other than that, I think that he's got the size and definitely got the speed and the quickness. And so definitely I'm going to be keeping an eye on him during training camp, hoping to see him get that cornerback 2 position. But I'm also going to be keeping an eye on some other rookies. We drafted Darnay Holmes in the 4th round, which was a total steal because he really would have been a second-round prospect if not that injury. And then later on in the draft, we landed 2 linebackers that I'm pretty excited about, and I'm going to group them together here. Cam Brown and Carter Coughlin. Carter Coughlin was an excellent pass rusher. He played for Minnesota. He had a higher pass rushing grade than Chase Young in 2018, according to Pro Football Focus. And he's a pretty solid player. Yeah, he's got some really nice pass rushing moves off of the edge, and sometimes he even dropped back in the coverage, so he's got some good versatility. And then Cameron Brown, he's really interesting too. He played at Penn State. This is a player that when I started watching him, I was really surprised because I didn't think I'd see this guy line up at slot cornerback so much. But he played over 240 snaps at cornerback last season. He's a linebacker, and he was playing edge, cornerback, and inside linebacker. And I thought that was really interesting. They moved him all over the place. And he really is like speedy. He's a quick guy. He's really tall and lanky. But he's kind of skinny, probably needs to bulk up a little more, and there's definitely some things he needs to refine. Most importantly, his tackling form. I don't know if you've ever watched him play, but he loves to just dive head forward.
Spears people.
Oh, yeah. It's scary.
It's an injury waiting to happen.
It is. It's exactly what happened to Ryan Shazier. That's how he paralyzed himself. He went head first into somebody, and that's scary. So the Giants need to coach that out of Cam Brown, because if he continues to do that at the NFL level, it could be scary. But he's a guy I see with plenty of potential. He's got the ideal mold to be a coverage linebacker, and I think the Giants really have like a lot of linebackers on their roster, but that third linebacker spot is really up in the air. Maybe even the second linebacker spot is up in the air. So I want to see all of these guys compete, Cam Brown included, and see who can become that coverage linebacker guy for the Giants. I think Cam Brown has a pretty good chance of fulfilling that role, at least in some limited capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to hit on Carter Coughlin, because he was actually one of my rookies that I want to see as well. The guy is physically really, really refined. He had a 4.57 40-yard dash and 8.16 10-yard split. Both of those numbers ranked in the 80th percentile for linebackers this year in the NFL Combine. He's 6'3" and 236 pounds. So he's not the bulkiest guy. He's not the biggest guy. What I see him playing as an outside linebacker, he can, like you said, he can drop back into coverage. He has that agility and that speed to be able to do it. I don't see him bull rushing offensive tackles. I don't see him being a power guy. I see him being more of as a bend, speed rusher around the edge. That's kind of his move. Agility, stunts. Sure. He'll probably be really, really good on stunts, just using that speed to beat offensive tackles to the hole. I think that he's going to be a very interesting kind of situational player for the Giants to start. He's a 7th-round pick, so we can't expect him to be an impact player right off the bat.
Right.
He's going to need this season to adapt. They don't even have a preseason, so he's not going to get any live snaps. That's kind of my biggest concern. He might have to wait until next year to really take that big developmental step forward. But working on his craft, practicing against guys like Andrew Thomas, even Cam Fleming in practice is going to help him a lot. But Cam Brown is another guy, like you said. He wasn't on my list, but I still am excited to see him. Super athletic dude, has to really fix up that tackling technique. And he's only 20 pounds less than Lorenzo Carter. So if you look at Lorenzo Carter,
that's who he reminds me of.
Yeah, exactly. He has like a similar frame to Lorenzo Carter. My issue is that he's not pure. I don't see him as purely I guess you could say outside linebacker. Like he needs to put more muscle mass on before he can really establish himself at that role. I'd like him actually maybe dropping into like a middle linebacker spot potentially.
That's what I think he should do. He just needs to put on a little more weight so he can actually impact the run game because he's really not. He's a non-factor there. But he's got all of the traits to be a coverage linebacker. So if he just bulks up, he could be a really good inside linebacker. And also, I'll say, for more information on Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown, stay tuned to the channel because that's the next film breakdown I'm going to do. I'm going to lump them together in that video, break them both down on the film. You guys loved the Xavier McKinney video, and I really appreciate all the support on that. So I'm going to get back to it with a Cam Brown and Carter Coughlin breakdown, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, Xavier McKinney video has 6,500 views right now.
It's over 7,000 now.
Wow. Okay, so 7,000 views, and I think the like ratio is ridiculous. So people really like this video.
We only have 2 dislikes. We have 280 likes. So I'm pretty happy about it. You guys really showing a lot of support, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Anthony is the next big thing coming out on the breakdown videos, and I'm sure he's learning a lot as he goes with these. So as he learns, his analysis and everything is only going to get better and better and better. And people like this one so much. It only says, people are excited about McKinney. The analysis was very good. And the actual film work, this guy, I'm telling you, this guy's like Martin Scorsese out here with the breakdown videos. He's making some moves out here on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked it out yet, highly recommend going over to the Xavier McKinney video, giving it a watch. You're going to come away thinking, okay, I didn't really know McKinney like I thought I did. He's different, even for me, than I thought he was coming out of Alabama. What he brings to this team is very, very exciting. Super diverse player. I mean, Patrick Graham and his defensive scheme, they use a lot of cover one. And, man, he can play cover one, and he can play man coverage like crazy. So go check out the film. He even throws some negative stuff in there so you can balance it out, see what he's not good at. It's really well done. So good job to Anthony. And I'm excited to see what he has next for Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. It's going to be awesome, and I'm sure it's going to be another Scorsese-worthy film production from Anthony over here. So
for sure.
On to our next players before I just keep going on how awesome Anthony is.
Thank you.
I have Ryan Connolly as my third guy because we had the same one for Carter Coughlin. So my third one's Ryan Connolly. And the reason I really want to see him is because we don't know what we have from him yet coming off a significant ACL tear. Right, so against Washington, week 4, the game is literally over. There's 2 minutes left in the game. Ryan Connolly goes down non-contact. We all know what happens. Yeah. So ACL tear, he's done for the year. He was awesome in the first 4 games, and I know people will say, don't say he's this, he's that. He had a very small sample size. Totally agree with you. I think that being overly optimistic is not the way we should approach Connolly, but expecting him to pick up where he left off is pretty reasonable because a lot of players return from ACL injuries and are good, or if not better, circa Todd Gurley. So, I'm thinking Connolly is the expected starter next to Blake Martinez, and I love Connolly's game. Like, when I tell you there's not a player that I love at that position more than I do Connolly right now, aside from like all pro players, he has such potential. Like, if he can return to that stability and the way he was playing in 2019, for his first 4 games, we're talking about a starter on defense for a very long time because his instincts and that experience that you gain in the NFL as you play, his instincts are unbelievable. The guy shoots the gap. His timing is incredible. And, I mean, you just don't find a guy that can get into the backfield of offenses that quick. It's not easy to find a player that can do stuff like that. So what he showed at Wisconsin and what Dave Gettleman identified in him, I think was spot on. He's going to come here, and he's already here showing us what we wanted to see as a rookie. What was he, a 5th round pick? So 5th or 6th round pick. So we're talking about a guy who's a late rounder who is starting week 1.
Yeah.
Week 1. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, no, I think that you see the way he shoots gaps and even the way he plays in coverage. It was really refreshing from a Giants fan's perspective. We haven't seen a good linebacker in so long. We almost forgot what it looks like to watch a linebacker play good football. So it was really exciting to see Ryan Connolly last year. I just hope that he's healthy and can remain healthy. Sometimes some players really struggle to come back from a torn-up knee like that, but I think that he can do it, and I really hope he can because I think that I agree with you. He could be a long-term starter on this team. I think that he was really a gem that Dave Gettleman found if he continues to play the way he did in those 4 games, and it should be exciting.
Yeah. No, so the potential's there. We know what Ryan Connolly brings. It really just comes down to can he recover to full and be mentally in there in the game. You know what I mean? Because coming off a big injury like that, you're always hesitant to use that ligament, that body part, and feel 100% with it. It takes time. Even OBJ, when he broke his ankle, he even said it took him months to get back to normal and actually trust, those slant routes. We didn't see him run those slant routes for a while at a high level because he was terrified of planting on that ankle. They used him. What was it? I think it was his right ankle that he broke.
Left, I think.
His left ankle? Okay, so that's why they used him on slant routes predominantly from the right side of the line of scrimmage because on that left side he would be planting on the left and cutting toward the middle. So they used him on the right side so much after that ankle break. So, just to take away that mental scare, scarce. So Connolly, I don't expect him to be like amazing right off the gun, but he's a player that has so much potential, and I would love to see him really maximize that. And we can only hope for the best. So, Anthony, who is your number 3 guy?
I'm going to throw out the muscle man, Daniel Jones. I am keeping a very close eye on Daniel Jones throughout training camp just because of how yoked he is right now. We heard all the rumors about it. We heard months ago that he gained 9 pounds of muscle, and we were like, okay, well, we'll see. But now that we've seen these photographs of him at training camp, we're like, oh, he really did gain 9 pounds of muscle. He's looking jacked. If you look at the pictures from last training camp to this training camp, it's a huge difference. His arms are bigger. His little thighs are teetering on the Saquon level. He's really gotten big, and it's gonna be huge for him. It's gonna help him with the ball security. He fumbled 18 times in 12 games, which is like a historically bad rate. He's gonna bring that down now that he's stronger. He's gonna hold on to the ball better, and then of course his arm strength. That was one of the biggest flaws that he had coming out of college. He wasn't able to drive the football in that way. Yep. But now he's gained 9 pounds of muscle, and his arms look way larger and way stronger.
Hydraulic.
He's ready to whip that football into some tight windows, be that gunslinger, really hit his full potential as a gunslinger now that he's got the arm strength for it. So I'm excited. I just want to continue to see him practice in training camp and see some videos maybe of him throwing some of those deep balls to Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton and them, because we haven't really seen any videos of that yet, but I'm excited to see that, and then of course excited to watch him play his 2nd season in the NFL this year. Yeah,
and it's kind of insane to see how different 8 to 9 pounds of muscle can make on a human body. Like, I compared a video, or rather a picture from last year to this year, and he looks like a little boy last year. Like, he's pretty skinny. He's pretty skinny. He's kind of frail. And this year, man, his arms are vascular. Like, he looks ripped. And I mean, hopefully, we can hope that translates to less fumbles, more ball velocity
hopefully.
on his throws, and everything in between. And I mean, best case scenario, it all ends up being super positive. But to see that difference, just he came back like a man. He came back like looking like he's ready to play in the NFL, like physical, fast. Like he fits the part of a quarterback now that you want to see as a young guy. So awesome stuff to see on Daniel Jones's end. Ryan Connolly fully healthy, returning. Darnay Holmes kind of being thrust into that CB2 spot. Carter Coughlin, 2018, had a better pass rush grade. Was it than Chase Young?
Yep. And
What
Nick
else can you
Bosa,
ask
and
for?
I think even Joey Bosa at some point.
Exactly. So what else can you ask for from a bunch of young guys coming in and looking the part? Obviously, we want to see it translate on the field, and that's the next step. We haven't seen that with the Giants the past 2 years. The translation from being physically in shape and having good college numbers to translating onto the field and actually producing. But what I can say is that this coaching staff that Joe Judge has assembled is vastly different than what we saw under Pat Shermer.
Sure. Yep.
Vastly different. Like, when I tell you, it's not even comparable. Not even comparable. Jason Garrett compared to Mike Shula as offensive coordinator. One of them has been a head coach for 10 years, the other one hasn't. Freddie Kitchens, who was a head coach for the Browns and was good in his first year, is now our tight ends coach. That's like a background role, really, for a head coach going to a tight ends role. That's insane. Burton Burns coached up 2 Heisman-worthy running backs in Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry. Jerry Shuplinski, our quarterbacks coach, helped develop Tom Brady, Jacoby Brissett, and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Patrick Graham made Kyler Fackrell a 10.5 sack player, and then once he left, he was benched for Za'Darius and Preston Smith.
Yeah. And another thing with Patrick Graham is he was working with about nothing in Miami, and he still managed to have those games where they beat the Patriots, they beat the Eagles, I believe, as well. He had some games where he really strung together an excellent game plan. They did give up a lot of points, but it was really a bend don't break mentality with the roster that they had. That's the only way that they could play it, and they did have some pretty solid defensive outings in Miami despite really zero talent on that defense, and you got to attribute that to Patrick Graham.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they literally traded away their best player, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Their best player, traded him away, and they still put together some decent... I couldn't tell you a single player on that team last year. It was littered with like, reserve guys, and Patrick Graham's over here like, I guess this is what I got to work with. Coming over to the Giants, now he has good players, Dalvin Tomlinson, James Bradbury, Xavier McKinney, Dexter Lawrence.
Leonard Williams.
A ton of new guys.
Yep.
A ton of new guys. Leonard Williams, like these guys
are
head and shoulders above
Miami.
what the Dolphins had last year.
Yeah.
Head and shoulders. And like I said, Leonard Williams said yesterday or 2 days ago, he's a genius. Patrick Graham's defensive scheme is a genius.
And then Dalvin Tomlinson also said that this scheme reminds him a lot of Alabama and that he loves it. So.
Yep. And he's aggressive. And he's going to be aggressive.
Could see some dominance out of our D linemen.
Yeah. I mean, I think that our defensive line, those 3 guys in the trenches, Dalvin, Dexter, and Leonard Williams, have the potential to be a top 5 interior defensive line in the NFL. They have that much talent. It's just a matter of consistency and getting some support from the secondary, because that's the biggest problem. If Xavier McKinney looks really good, James Bradbury does his job well, we're really only missing a CB2. We're really only missing that one position. And Darnay Holmes, I'm telling you, can fill that spot if he's given the opportunity. I don't trust Julian Love there because I don't think he's fast enough. I like him more of like a strong safety, free safety role. I don't really trust putting him there. He might have gotten faster this offseason. Don't take my word for it. He could fit that role. He has a lot of experience there, but there's a reason they didn't put him there to begin with. But then you have Chris Williamson, and that's another guy from Minnesota, same as Carter Coughlin. Chris Williamson, super athletic dude, really, really quick and fast. Problem is, he's the worst tackler I've ever seen in the game of football. If you think Cam Brown is bad at tackling, Chris Williamson is the worst tackler I've ever seen.
That's worst. Pretty bold.
Watch his film. You're going to cringe.
Maybe he'll be next. Yeah, I'll watch it.
It's really bad, but that doesn't mean he can't fix those things. That's Joe Judge's job, though. He wants to harp on the fundamentals, and that's something that Chris Williamson is going to benefit from, because those live tackling drills, harping on fundamentals, details. That's how you get better at football. You do your job. If you can do your job to perfection and not worry about somebody else's, you're fine. You know? That's it.
I agree. Yeah, it's all about the coaching staff. We've got, I think, an excellent staff in place. It's head and shoulders, like you said, above the last one. I'm really excited, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think we made a lot of great hirings. Coach Spencer, Coach Chaos, they call him, on the defensive line. We mentioned those great defensive linemen, and now we got a great coach to coach them together. And Patrick Graham was a former defensive line coach for the Giants, actually. So all in all, I think it's going to be a exciting year for these young players, and I think we should see a lot of improvement, even if it doesn't necessarily end up showing up in the win column. I think week to week we'll definitely see players get better and better. And Julian Love, we're going to keep debating this one every episode because I really have a lot of confidence in Julian Love, whereas you seem to be a little skeptical, but we'll see.
I would say I have confidence in him too, but not at cornerback specifically. I really like him as like that reserve utility man role, like filling in if need be.
I think he could be a starting safety.
Starter.
I think he can be a
starter. I think safety is different though, because I think he's more of like he can sit back, he can read the game. He's a really smart player. He's a really, really intelligent,
I think he could be CB2 though.
Guy.
I think he could be CB2.
We'll see. If he ends up being CB2 and playing well, I am more than happy. Believe me, I'm not against anybody playing well for the Giants.
That's true.
That's a fact. But
for sure.
For today, that's all we got. Just wanted to run through a few training camp guys we're really excited about and kind of run through what to expect and what we are hoping for from some of our younger players. So thank you for tuning in. Quick hitter, about 30 minutes. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and let's get ready for some more Giants football.